Okay, freshmen, good morning. Today is Tuesday, April 28th. We are in our 74th week of online virtual learning. Hopefully you guys are in the swing of things and the schedule and everything is going okay. Obviously, most important, I hope you guys are healthy, both mentally and physically. Remember, feel free to send an email if you just need to check in or let me know if you have questions, concerns with school, with online learning, other stuff. I'm happy to help in any way that I can. Um, Anyways, this week's assignment is pretty straightforward. We basically have one assignment assigned today, and it's due 1 week from today. And that's a genetics technology video project. Before we do that, we're going to go over our exam answers. I'll basically go over a few questions that a lot of students got wrong. And then for that project, which we'll talk about at the end of class, you can work solo on this, or you can use a partner, and the partner can be anybody from one of my classes. So it doesn't have to be someone in your exact block, but you cannot choose someone from Dion or Lambton. It has to be one of my students. Okay, so anyways, let's get right into the exam. Overall, you guys did pretty well on this. There were a few questions that a lot of students got wrong that I do want to discuss. This question, the trait being studied in this pedigree is blank. Can't tell because you could make Punnett squares where this trait is recessive, so homozygous recessive, heterozygous, and then both offspring are homozygous recessive. That could happen. Or if this was a dominant trait, this individual could be homozygous dominant, homozygous recessive, both offspring would be heterozygous. So obviously this could be both dominant or recessive trait. You really can't tell. This question. Hemophilia is X-linked recessive. The following pedigree shows a portion of family in which some members have hemophilia. Those in the pedigree with hemophilia are shaded. 2-1 and 2-2 have a son. What is the probability he has hemophilia? So 2-2 is a male that we know nothing about because he's outside of the pedigree, but because he does not have hemophilia and because he's a male, we actually know that he is a dominant allele. Remember, males have an XY chromosome, so they only have one allele for sex-linked traits. Now, the female, because she has hemophilia, she must be homozygous recessive. She has both X chromosomes. So if they have a son, that son is getting the Y chromosome from dad, so his X doesn't matter. And whichever X chromosome the son gets from mom, it's going to be a recessive allele. So there's a 100% chance that that son will have hemophilia. Next question, very similar. 2-5 and 2-6 have a son. What's the probability that he has hemophilia? Again, 2-6 is similar to 2.1, where we don't know much about him. He's outside of the family tree, but being a male, he can't be a carrier. We know that he has a dominant allele. Now, this female does not have hemophilia, but because her dad had hemophilia, he gave an X chromosome to his daughter. Otherwise, she wouldn't be a daughter. She'd be a son if he gave a Y chromosome. So by giving that X chromosome, we know that that X chromosome had a recessive allele. So we actually know her genotype is heterozygous. Meaning, if they have a son, there's going to be a 50% chance that the son gets the dominant allele from mom, 50% chance the son gets the recessive allele from mom. Dad's allele doesn't matter because the dad's giving the Y chromosome if they have a son. So the answer here is 50%. Next question. The pedigree in figure 2 shows Tay-Sachs, a recessive condition. What is the chance that 4-3 is not a carrier? Well, let's look. 4-3 does not have the trait, but by having a sibling that has a trait, homozygous recessive, we actually know that both parents are heterozygous. So the chances that they are not a carrier is actually 1 in 4. 25% because there's a 50% chance that they are a carrier. There's a 25% chance that they have the disease. All right, then this was actually our the question that we struggled with the most. It's kind of a trick question, so I wouldn't get too worried about it if you got this one wrong. Creeper is a condition that chickens are born with very short legs. It's a dominant allele. Embryos that are homozygous for the dominant allele fail to develop into viable chickens and die before they hatch. What phenotype would you expect from the cross of two creeper chickens? So creeper chickens are heterozygous. So we know that the offspring are going to have a 75% chance of having the creeper allele and a 25% chance of being normal. So you would think the answer is here, 3 to 1. Except remember, in this question, we tell you that homozygous dominant chickens die before they hatch. And we're asking about live offspring. And so what that means is if you think of a Punnett square with 4 outcomes, that one outcome of homozygous dominant gets crossed out because that's not a live chicken. So there's really 3 outcomes, and of those 3 outcomes, 2 of them would be creeper and 1 of them would be normal. So our answer is actually here, 2 to 1 ratio. Okay, so that is it for the exam. Moving on to today's assignment. And as I mentioned, today's assignment is for the entire week, so both Tuesday, the 28th, and Thursday, the 30th. It's due next Tuesday, May 5th. So this assignment, you're going to make a 3 to 5 minute video creating a sort of ethical concerns, which would be drawbacks, as well as potential solutions, which would be advantages of a specific biotech issue. I have a whole list of topics you can choose from. I crossed out stem cells because we've already talked a lot about those earlier in the semester, but you could do GMOs, which is an interesting topic, cloning, vaccines, gene therapy, gene patenting, CRISPR, pharmacogenomics, whole genome diagnosis, artificial wombs, cryonics, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. There's a lot of other topics, but my biggest concern is that if you choose a topic not on this list, you must get permission from me. So send an email if you have a different idea, and I will let you know very clearly yes or no. But I do not want someone to do a whole bunch of work on a topic without checking with me, and if it turns out, if it's a topic like, I don't know, abortion or gay marriage or gun control. I mean, those are not biology topics. I'm not going to give you any credit for doing an assignment like that. Interesting topics, but obviously not related to, bioethics. So make sure if you do a topic outside of my list that you get approval. Some tips, remember those site-specific searches. Every year I have students turn in stuff with false information, and the students say, well, I didn't know I got it on the internet. How much, it's not my fault. But realize that the difference between .gov sites, .edu sites, and .coms and .orgs that can be written by anybody. I've mentioned before that Wikipedia is a great resource. Now, that should not be where all your research comes from, but a good chunk of your research can definitely start at Wikipedia. Now, for the video layout, I would think of this as a 4-paragraph essay in video form, and each paragraph is basically the section of the video. So you start with the introduction, which is the type of technology, how it works. I would say this is actually the toughest part of the assignment to get full credit on. Not just reciting the definition for a website, but actually simplifying the technology, breaking it down, and explaining it in a way that is easy to understand. That takes a lot of work, all right? So if you just rewrite technical jargon from a website, that's not really the same as explaining or simplifying the technology. So that introduction is actually fairly tough. Paragraph 2 and 3, or section 2 and 3 of the video, are pretty similar. Looking at the benefits of the technology, looking at the drawbacks of the technology, and then lastly, just a closing where you summarize those pros and cons, those benefits and drawbacks of the technology. Then you can kind of end with your own, not opinion, but your agreements on whether this technology should be used or not used. And that should be evidence-based. So again, not just based on your own belief, your own opinion, but based on the research that you've done, the cited research from .gov and .org, or .gov and .edu sources. And again, Thursday is your chance to create this video. I think the best way to do this is to do your research today, Tuesday. So take notes, lay out your research, then actually create the videos on Thursday. You can do the video in any format that you'd like. Ms. Dion had a source that she was a fan of called Flipgrid. So if you want to try Flipgrid, it's a pretty easy tool to use. Obviously, Vimeo, YouTube, any type of video, any way that you want to make this is fine with me. Feel free to be creative here. So again, due May 5th, and Thursday, the 30th, I will be available on Skype at 3 o'clock if you have any questions or concerns about the project. So that's it for me. Be safe, have a good week. I'll see some of you on Thursday at 3 o'clock if you have questions. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing your videos when they are submitted next Tuesday, May 5th. Okay, bye guys.